Okay, hello YouTubers. We're just going to do a test now of everyone's voice before it. If everyone could speak again.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So I can hear everyone.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're going to do the fancy intro now, guys. So we'll see you in literally a minute and 50 seconds.
It's a tiny bit echoey, but
Come on.
tiny really echoey.
Right, we can talk now for a minute till it. We are live. I'll just check with Lewis again. Just give me a nod if it's all right. But I will. Hello, YouTubers and random Doctor Who fans. It's me, Ozzy, one part of the MonoSupreme podcast, joined with Lewis.
Hello.
What are you going to be doing today, Lewis?
I'm moderating your comments and trying to keep conversations on track.
Yeah. Mana, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mana, another part of the MonoSupreme YouTube channel. And today we will be talking to Billy Garratt John.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all.
It's not working.
Is it? Oh, nice to see you too,
And
Billy. It's great to have you here.
Nice to see you.
And for
Just
people who
for
are not
people-
catching this live, this
Yeah.
is like our third or fourth attempt at doing this.
Yeah, we seem to be having technical difficulties on every single one, but I think we're just going to roll with this unless it's like unlistenable.
It's a bit echoey, so I think the audio's picking up again.
Is it the audio input capture? Is that what it is? Okay, so let's just get on with it. So, hello, Billy. How
Hello.
talk? We've said this so many times now. So
This is
just
so
explain to us your
candid
Doctor Who
right now.
journey. Yeah.
I'll tell you about my Doctor Who journey.
Yeah,
So my
cool.
dad was a big fan when he was a kid. Doctor Who 1999, he wanted to watch it, wanted to stay in and watch it, but he was gigging. Mum taped it for him, and the next day I walked into the room and watched it. And then, yeah, from there, I just have friends and family sort of supporting me with my Whovianness. So grandparents taping episodes of Doctor Who off UK Gold, buying VHSs and DVDs, Doctor Who magazine, getting Doctor Who Target books as sort of hand-me-downs, and obviously the Dapol figures as well. And then occasionally, like the odd trip somewhere that was Doctor Who related, so like the Longley exhibition, and the one at Llangehelen as well, the Doctor Who experience, the old Doctor Who experience, the OG one, which was in the Dapol factory.
Yeah.
And so I've got loads of memories of that, and they're all very, very strong, those memories that, and I think that's kind of what carries you through as a fan, isn't it? It's the memories that last the longest with you for something. That's kind of the thing you're going to gravitate towards, isn't it? Makes the biggest impression on you. So yeah, and that's who I am today. It's made me who I am today as a fan.
Yeah, it's interesting now you mentioned Klangolan, because I remember going to Klangolan on like family holidays and stuff. And do you remember the sign with the Dalek on it?
Yeah, there's a few of them still around. I think there's like is it an AA sign with like a nice like stylized Dalek on it? There's still one. I don't know if it's been taken down yet, but I'm not advocating for anybody to do this, but I'm sure it would fetch a pretty penny online if you were to take it. There is still one of those signs in Cardiff, round the back of a couple of newer housing developments near where the Experience used to be and where the studios are. At the Drama Village in Cardiff, so they're not going to need it anymore. So something to think about.
Don't mention the Experience. I just kind of cry every time I ever hear about it. It's so sad.
It's tragic, isn't it?
It is. So, as in nowadays, is your relationship as strong as it was when you were a kid?
I'd say it's evolved. I don't think it's any stronger or any less strong necessarily. I think that I've reached a point with the program where I've got so much going on in real life that you can't kind of gift as much time to Doctor Who as you used to when you were younger. When all I had to worry about was homework and making sure that I was in Saturday night in front of the telly with a bowl of chips. That's all you have to worry about really when you're 10 years old. So I'd say that I'm very happy with where I am with the show, because I have a much deeper appreciation for the way that it's made and for the people who have worked on it or who work on it and the operations that go behind running a television program. So I think I'm just at a nice place with it where I just enjoy it for what it is now. I'm not looking to overanalyze it necessarily, which I suppose entirely dispenses with the point of the review of Death, but there we have it. I don't have to be pouring through Gallifrey base looking for spoilers and spoiling seasons for myself. I'm quite happy just to sit in front of the telly on a Sunday night now and just let it wash over me. And I'll take the things away that I liked about it, and I'll take the things away I didn't like about it, and I'm happy with that. I don't have to, I don't have to think about it much more beyond that. And of course, there's still a lot to draw our attention. I mean, you've got the collection sets, which are, always a source of excitement, and I think that does fuel a lot of Doctor Who fans now. It certainly does fuel me, because it's the idea of reappreciating these stories. And I think that everybody is starting to do that and is starting to develop the faculties to kind of separate the shows and its eras and respect what it was trying to do. Obviously, when you're in the heat of the moment and there's a season of Doctor Who on telly that you're not a massive fan of, it's difficult to sort of park those feelings, and look at it like, well, we probably will like this 20 years from now. I know. What was it, Orphan 53, whatever it's
55,
called.
yeah.
55.
53. I know that obviously that wasn't lauded, and I wasn't a massive fan of it. But I wasn't sort of offended by it in a way I might have been when I was younger, where I was like, that was rubbish Doctor Who, and blah, it wasn't very good, so it was rubbish Doctor Who. It's like, this wasn't my cup of tea that week, and most people liked it, so whatever. It's all good.
When it came out, Orphan 55, I actually really enjoyed it. It's like a campy sci-fi throwaway kind of thing.
There we go. Yeah. Perfect example, and like, I don't have to take lumps out of you, Ozzy, because you liked it more than I did. Do you know what I mean? And I think that people online need to sort of realise that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy, have you got any? I don't suppose you've got like any sort of, young people, like kids in your life that you see. Because I mean, in terms of Doctor Who, because I've got a little sibling, they're like 6. And they watch Doctor Who, and it's quite a different experience, sort of watching it with them. You know, they have access to like the whole, you know, iPlayer, all 12 series and stuff. So yeah, they get to experience it for the first time and you know, rewatch certain stories that maybe you as an adult wouldn't have thought to rewatch or anything like that.
Totally. I don't really anymore. I used to, my little cousin got into it around the time that Matt Smith became the Doctor. And then, because I was a massive fan, he obviously used me as like a jumping on point and was asking which action figures do I need to buy, which episodes do I need to watch. So I saw him develop as a fan at that time. Not so much anymore. I don't really know many kids. But I have to say, I've had more experiences as an adult where I've encountered children who are actively pursuing Jodie merchandise or whatever, or who are actively responding to what they're seeing on telly with Jodie, than I have for other Doctors. I remember working in Waterstones and a little girl coming in and asking where the Doctor Who annuals were, and her dad picked it off the shelf for her, and her face lit up when she saw Jodie. You know, so I haven't witnessed moments like that, but I can't say that I have somebody in my life who I see that through. But that's really interesting that you do, because at the end of the day, they're the target audience for Doctor Who.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. How you know, wrapped up so many Doctor Who fans on the internet get, and then you look at, in my case, my little sibling watching Doctor Who and talking about Doctor Who, and you know, getting Doctor Who merchandise and stuff, sometimes donated from Oscar. Thanks very much.
Yeah, like 10 action figures from me.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and you just realize none of it matters. None of the leaks or spoilers or anger and discussion or, you know, points of contention doesn't matter.
No, not at all.
At the end of the day, it's just sort of what the kids think.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, just as you said, all that stuff doesn't matter. I mean, like, what a pain in the ass they've had Graham coming back leaked. That must be dreadful.
Yeah.
Wait, is that true?
I've
not been keeping up with the leaks.
Yeah.
So.
I literally just saw it on Twitter now. So
yeah.
Can I just interrupt just for a second? Just saying hello to someone in the chat. Yeah, just saying hello to Mia in the chat. Yeah, just someone I know who's turned up. It's just unexpected. So take it back ahead, Billy.
I've completely forgotten where I was. Sorry.
Graham in series 13.
Yeah, like, it's a pain that that's been leaked. But then ultimately, yeah, 6-year-olds, I mean, God, I hope not, 6-year-olds aren't on Twitter. They don't care, you know, and like, yeah, all that stuff about when they become fans. It's a bit like, to be honest, I'm a big professional wrestling fan. It's a bit like when you suddenly get smartened up to pro wrestling, because you stop enjoying it at that point as a child who looks at Hulk Hogan and goes, wow, you're a superhero, like a racist superhero, but wow, you're a superhero, you know. And, you know, I imagine them looking at guys like Roman Reigns now, or like in AEW, like Kenny Omega and CM Punk and stuff. They are superheroes. But when you get smartened up to the industry, you then appreciate it on a whole other level. So when you become a Doctor Who fan who gets into spoilers and speculation and blah, 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 then you're like, well, actually, I'm into the production side of it now. And stuff like, you know, Doctor Who Confidential back in the day really fueled that. It's a shame there isn't really an.
I don't think I'd be where I was, sort of aiming to be a filmmaker if it wasn't for Doctor Who Confidential.
I think that people are aware of that. I certainly think that people know how influential it was and what a success it was. But it's just a shame it's that no one's pulled the trigger to bring it back. You know, doing Doctor Who alone is enough of a big gig. But when you know, at the time, we're adding Sarah Jane, Torchwood, Totally Doctor Who Confidential, Doctor Who at the Proms, the Doctor Who cartoons that started coming out, you know, with Infinite Quest and Dreamland and all that kind of stuff. Like Russell, like, I don't know if anybody could ever do that again. I don't know what he was.
He worked his arse off.
Absolutely, and you think, my God, like, could that happen now? Is there anybody out there that could run a franchise like that? I don't think so. I think he was a one-man Marvel, pretty much. Marvel Studios, doing all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think you do develop as a fan, and I think there's another kind of level you get like with Doctor Who as a fan, where you get slightly older and you just maybe reach my point of apathy and just like, I love Doctor Who, it's great. I'm not going to get stressed about it now though, you know.
I'm too. I love Doctor Who too much to sort of hate it anymore. You know, to properly. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Just
and that's why I privatized most of the stuff that was on my YouTube account, my old YouTube account, because it wasn't representative of who I was anymore. You know, taking lumps out of class. You know, if we ever get around to doing class on the review of Death, obviously, you know, we'll be honest about it. But we will also approach it from a much more grown-up perspective. You know, where these people are only trying to make this work. You know, and why didn't it work? Well, it's not through anybody purposefully trying to sabotage it. You know, nobody does that in telly. Nobody actively goes out to make something bad. And 9 times out of 10, it's not bad. It's just not your cup of tea. So yeah, I think everybody reaches that point. But then you look on the internet and you're like, well, there's a 43-year-old who's yelling at people half his age, and I don't think they're ever going to get the message. In which case, you just ignore them and block them and move on with your life.
The one thing that does sicken me the most is the fact that people like that kind of just focus on one aspect and don't take into account that an entire team of people work on this. As in, they'll just dismiss the writing, but everything else they don't care about, and like people bleed and put so much work into everything else, and it just really infuriates me how people kind of disrespect like TV and film just because of one thing, if you get what I mean. Especially
TV, because TV, I've got the choice as to whether or not I put that box on in the corner. That's my decision. If I put something on, if I've invited a program into my home and I don't like it, you're going to get way more annoyed about it, because it's like, I've wasted my time on that. I suppose similarly, paying a movie theatre ticket is the same. So I paid my money. I demand to have the exact kind of movie I wanted or thought this was. You know what I mean? And with telly especially, you know, and the BBC is always, you know, on the chopping block. You know, it's always under scrutiny. And I just think that of all the programmes and of all the things to complain about in the world, you choose to beat the BBC over the head with Doctor Who. Like, come on. It's like, you know, it's still being made. I grew up just thinking, well, I'm not going to have Doctor Who. I've got Doctor Who on VHS, but it's not quite the same as having my own Doctor Who. I'm never going to have that moment that my dad told me about when he first saw his first Doctor. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have that. It's like we've got nothing to complain about, really.
No, I mean, we do get spoiled in a lot of things, especially merchandise, which I am going to segue into now.
Exactly.
So, a piece of merchandise which you have, Billy, that not your favourite, but it sums you up as a person and has the most sentimental meaning. So if you looked at it, you go, that's Billy Garratt John writing that piece of merchandise. What would it be?
I actually have it. Do you want me to grab it?
Go on. This is a visual thing as well, so you can see it. No, it will.
So my granddad used to work at a place called Avon Tin. Okay. Which used to produce, you know, all sorts of bits and bobs. And one day he brought a couple of bits and bobs back to my dad's, and one of them, which was produced at the factory, was this, which is an official 70s TARDIS money box, and stamped at the back, BBC Enterprises Limited, 1980. They also produced another one with Peter Davison peering out of it once Tom had buggered off. But this is actually my dad's original one that my granddad gave to him, and I've still got it. So I suppose if there was anything, it would be this. And I've actually now subsequently bought on eBay the Davison version as well. So I've got both of them, one at my parents and one here. So I'd say probably that, actually. Lucky I had that here, otherwise that would have been really awkward to explain.
Yeah. Tom Baker printed on the front of a TARDIS.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So next thing I was wanting to ask you was about I don't know how much you've been asked about this, but your old YouTube channel about Still Better Than Moffat and all that kind of stuff. For
all the OG content,
Yeah, for people who are perhaps new to the review of Death and stuff, Could you give us a little bit of an explanation of like Still Better Than Moffat and all your old stuff? I think it's important to preserve that kind of thing.
Okay, okay. So I used to have a YouTube channel. Used to review bits and bobs. Used to throw a lot of shade, and I'm not particularly proud of it. It felt a bit like one of those drama channels that you get now for like makeup and stuff in the YouTube sector. At least that's how it feels to me now. But I used to do a thing where I watched my old fan films, and it was called Still Better Than Moffat. And so I'd watch my old Doctor Who fan films from sort of like 2011, 2014, 13. Oh God, no, I'd stopped by the time I got to university. Thank Christ. But it was great. I really enjoyed doing that. That was probably one of my other favourite things I've done on YouTube is do that series, because everybody's tried to do a Doctor Who fan film, or everyone's made a Doctor Who fan film, or people are still making them and they're awesome. You know, it was just really nice to open up that chapter of my development as a fan is making my fan films, and also I guess eventually entering the professional industries after that as well. So it's all part of the story, I suppose. Yeah.
I gotta say, like, I think I watched every single one that came out, and Still Better Than Moffat was always one of my favorite things to come home to and watch after school.
Oh, that's cool.
So awesome. Just want to thank you for that.
You're very welcome. No, I enjoyed doing them while I was doing them. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Us, me, Oscar, and Lewis, we've had our fair share of Doctor Who fan film type things, haven't we?
We have. There's a couple on this channel.
Cyberman.
If you want to laugh. If you want to laugh, go check them out. I'm going to pass over to Lewis, see if we've got any questions. Well, we don't have any questions, but if you're in the chat now, please ask a question. And just say, who have we got in the chat? Who's commented?
We've got Devran Hassan, as usual.
Hey, Devran, how's it going?
And we've got people we've shouted out already.
We've got Paul Denman, and we've got Mia as well. So make sure you put those questions in the chat, guys. And on the last video, if you go on my channel, there's people have put some questions in the chat. No. So we'll just read those out. Just that one, yeah.
There's these ones. So from
Zero Doctor Zero Who.
Yeah. See if it's an actual question.
Go on then. Go on.
So from Zero Doctor Zero, he says, long-time viewer of both Billy and Matt. A question I've wanted to ask Billy is, how did he first get into Doctor Who? What his favourite story is from each season of Classic Who, and does he collect any Doctor Who merchandise than Blu-ray and other medias?
I mean, we already did the first one, and I think for the second one, there's like 20 seasons of Classic Who, so we won't do.
We might be here for a while.
A favourite from each Doctor, I think,
all
is probably
26
fair.
seasons.
Oh my god! In alphabetical order.
No, I think a favourite from each Doctor is probably a little bit more doable.
Okay. From each Doctor, can I do underrated ones from each Doctor? I'll do ones that I think should be given a bit more kudos. For the first Doctor, I'd say Edge of Destruction. I think that's excellent.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Second Doctor, Seeds of Death always needs more love. I think that's a fantastic story. Third Doctor, Curse of Peladon, my favourite Doctor Who story of all time. Fourth Doctor, watch part 1 of Underworld and don't watch the rest of it. I'm joking. Invasion of Time. Invasion of Time is it's long and arduous, but I think there's a lot to enjoy in it. Fifth Doctor, Terminus. I like Terminus. Sixth Doctor, Vengeance on Varos. Seventh Doctor, Greatest Show in the Galaxy. Eighth Doctor, can't do anything there. Ninth Doctor, Father's Day. 10th Doctor, The Waters of Mars. 11th Doctor, I quite liked bugger, it's completely gone.
Remember the name?
Yeah, Lewis
I like the one that I can't.
Smith era fan, so he'll
Can't remember. I like the one I can't remember the name of.
Go on, describe it.
What happens in it?
Do I have a favourite 11th Doctor story? No, I quite like the God
Hour,
Complex. I like the God Complex.
Okay, good pick.
12, Listen. That's good fun.
Controversial.
And yeah, I remember liking that story. I haven't seen it for a while though. And then 13, I really like the Sinanga Conundrum. I think people give that.
I do as well. I loved the Sinanga Conundrum when it came out.
It feels like a silly Doctor Who runaround in a spaceship, and the monster's cool, and there's like spaceships flying around. Like it's a cool episode of Doctor Who.
The thing is, I think with the Sinanga Conundrum, I think that's why it was so unpopular, is because all the stories up until that point did have a slow pace anyway. There wasn't really like much momentum. Not to say the stories were particularly bad, I just didn't think that there was an awful lot of momentum in the first 4 stories. And then when we got to Sinanga Conundrum, it was like, oh, we're doing another slow one. And I think that's probably what put people off.
I'd agree with that. It does have a slower pace. I like the fact it takes its time a bit more with stuff though, because the breakneck pace of the Moffat era was something that always slightly put me off.
Yeah, I mean, especially like the Which is Familiar and stuff like that, where it's like way too sporadic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it was a slightly more sort of calm, measured, chilled approach. People died. They allowed emotional beats to sort of set in. And I was like, I'm liking this. And then Sinanga Conundrum happened. It was the first time they went, let's do a silly one. All the other ones had been quite, worthy, not po-faced, but had been a bit more sort of, this is new, serious Doctor Who. And then Sinanga Conundrum happened. And it was like, that's Doctor Who. There you go.
What does Mana think of Sinanga Conundrum?
Don't ask me.
I'll put another one in.
I love all Doctor Who equally.
Yeah, okay, sure.
I also liked Can You Hear Me a lot as well.
All right. That one's quite controversial just because of one of those last few scenes with the Doctor and Graham.
Yes, that's true.
What's your take on that?
I mean, I don't think it's framed. I think the optics of it are pretty bad. I think there is a time for the Doctor to do that whole kind of, I'm socially awkward, sorry, I'm alien, I don't really know how to do these things. And there's also a time, and there's a way to do that delicately to Graham. And I think they were relatively delicate with it, but I just still think that it's like what's written down on the page has a different meaning to what's happening on the screen. There's a bit of a disconnect, I think, in terms of what the intention was supposed to be with that sequence, and I think it ended up being a bit too ambiguous. And then obviously people then put their interpretation of it being a negative thing on top of it. I don't think it's nearly as bad on a first viewing as I think it later becomes when you watch it and you put on that whole she's being quite unpleasant here. You make it wear that hat, and then I think then it doesn't look great. But it's you should never really want your Doctor to look like they're being mean or nasty or inconsiderate to anyone. So the fact that they did
at the beginning of his run.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I mean, and that was fun for a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I think you don't want to leave the Doctor's morals up to interpretation. Really, you just kind of want to make it clear, like the Doctor's a good person, and that's kind of it.
Cool. So we've got Mana. You wanted to ask this question, the next one.
Oh yes. Yeah, because I basically, outside of Doctor Who, I only think about basically, filmmaking, TV work, that sort of thing. So you said before we started how you can't discuss specific projects, but I wanted to talk about your TV work in jobs and stuff. You said you graduated from university. What did you do after that?
After that, I did something that you do have to get used to in telly, which is not working for long periods of time. And when you can't work or don't have work, supplementing that with working in retail and stuff like that. So that was immediately what happened. Upon graduating, I had done a weekend running on another show, which had got me my first credit. And that first credit's always important, because then you can make a CV. You can start a CV and start sending that to people and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, immediately after leaving university, I was quite lucky. I got a contract with a production company in the Southwest and started working on a big studio production, which I've done for the last sort of. It covers the first 6 months of each year, and this is my 4th year on that show. And I've worked on lots of other bits and bobs, but yeah, I think I've been quite lucky. I don't think I'm a typical sort of. I mean, I work hard, obviously, but I'm not a typical case. I think a lot of people struggle more, and I've struggled to get work, but I think a lot of people have struggled more, and maybe have worked in a position for longer before then moving up. But I think a lot of that is happenstance. It's making yourself invaluable, which is sort of the most important thing in telly.
Yeah.
But and obviously hard work and graft and being nice to people and all that kind of stuff. But I think I'm a rare case in that regard.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like,
For me, I was quite lucky because I was furloughed during the initial lockdown, and I had a job which started. So that main job that I had for the first 6 months ended in March, at the start of March, because of the lockdown. I got furloughed, and then we didn't come back until August, I don't think. But then after that, we were producing under COVID regulations, and obviously for the subsequent series for this year, we were under COVID regs as well. I mean, it was incredibly worrying, and especially the way that it was kind of uncertain how freelancers, because you work freelance in the industry most of the time, how they would cope and where that money would come from. So very stressful, squeaky bum times at the beginning, but I got through it okay. The environment of working in it was interesting because we were the first big studio show of that kind to go back into production. So everybody was looking at what happened to us. And either we were going to trip up and there would be some hole in the plan, which was just, sod's law, and people were going to say, well, don't do what they did, or it was going to be a massive success and everybody was going to go, well, they've made it work, why can't we make it work? And thankfully it was the latter, because the production team on it are superb, and they covered every possible angle. So it was weird and a bit alienating and dehumanizing, and when you work in telly and your job is to talk to people all the time and to form a bond with them or whatever, that's really difficult when you can only see half of their face. But we got through it and produced 2 really great seasons of telly, and it's also been quite good actually because it's expanded work because you can work from home. My other half has been working remotely since she's had like 3 days in the office since last August, I think, and a couple of days on set. She's off actually at the moment working on Chelsea Flower Show, so everybody watch that daytime and evenings because you'll see her name in the credits. So yeah, like this is the first time she's been able to get out and do stuff. That's the worst part, is the working from home and not being on set or being on location or being in a production office around your co-workers and having a laugh. That's been difficult. That's probably the hardest part of all of it, I'd say.
Right, I'm just going to quickly pass to Lewis because we've got a few questions apparently from the live chat.
Yes. So first question that's popped up that I can see is from Devran again. What is your most likable or maybe even favourite Dalek design from classic and new series?
I've always wanted to own an Imperial Dalek action figure, and I never have, but they are my favourites, I think.
Grab that white Dalek. Carry on.
I love an Imperial Dalek.
3D printed.
Wow!
Accurate.
Holy hell!
I know. I've got
That's
a resin
impressive.
3D printer now. So, go on.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's gorgeous. So I'd say classic Imperial. Modern day, I just like the classic RTD. I was thinking the other day that I know the paradigms are kind of Marmite, but you can't improve on what they did in 2005. I don't think there's anything more you can do to it. The only time I've ever seen a Dalek silhouette or a Dalek model redone, and I thought, oh yeah, is the stuff that, is it James Johnson on Twitter does? Those Daleks,
yeah.
That's
really
like
good.
those redesigns are all gorgeous, and I'd love to see any of them. Yeah, I know. Honestly,
hire these people.
They
Hire
are
these people. They know what
so
they're doing.
incredible.
Yeah. And yeah, Hang on, any more questions?
Yeah, there's another couple. So, from Alex Rose, if you were to make your own episode, what would you want to include? Possibly villains, companions, which Doctor you'd prefer?
It would have to be a Beatles episode. I've
Me and Man
always
talked about that
wanted.
before, how it would be.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
listened to Fanfare for the Common Men?
Yeah, I love that story. Yeah, it's good fun. I always thought that would be the easiest way into doing a Doctor Who story, is to kind of have, like a replacement Beatles or something. But I've always loved the image that if they actually did a third Dalek film, they would get Patrick Troughton in it, and they do Doctor Who meets the Beatles in an adventure with the Daleks. And it's like, it's like a Hard Day's Night, but instead of running around for no reason whatsoever, they are running away from Daleks or whatever, and John's getting shirty with a Roboman or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. I think that would be cool. So I'd do something like that, I think.
Oh, that'd be so cool. I kind of wish that they would tap a bit more into more pop culture stuff like the Beatles, and my idea was to maybe do something like an episode with Apple and maybe Steve Jobs or something like that, like a Cyberman episode like that. I don't know, I kind of have this weird idea like that.
I don't know if they could legally do that.
I don't know, could they?
If they got them in there, I think you could do a cyber story, but like, I don't know, everybody singing All You Need Is Love breaks their emotional inhibitors and they all cry to death or something.
That sounds good. That sounds
something
good.
Something
better
waffly
than
like that.
Better than the closing time ending, where
not
Alfie cried.
not by much. Not by much.
Yeah, we both love closing time. I love closing time. Okay, so have we got any more live question? One last question.
Scribbles the Screen asks, it's the first question that popped into their head. Do you watch Red Dwarf? Because they've been watching a lot of that.
I watch a lot of Red Dwarf. I love Red Dwarf. I love season 5 is my favorite. I mean, Quarantine is my favorite episode. So I love season 5 of Red Dwarf. I love all the seasons of Red Dwarf, to be honest. I mean, season 8 I'm not massive on, and season 7, when they lose the audience, it loses a bit of energy. But the Dave seasons are really good as well, and I really liked the last special. I thought that was good fun. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Red Dwarf.
Yeah, same. My granddad brought me up on Red Dwarf and Doctor Who, so
that's the only way to do it.
That's all you need, really, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next section, and after this section, we're going to have a break. So I wanted to ask you about Bristol 2019, We Are Cult. What was that like to set up, and what was the journey from that to, was it Manchester after that? Just talk us through the whole live show thing.
The live show thing was weird. I mean, we always thought, that would be the coolest thing to do, is to do a live show. We'd love to do that. And we were contacted, I can't remember who opened the first lines of communication, but spoke with Jay Gent, who runs We Are Cult, and it just kind of happened, really. And we really enjoyed doing those shows. We've done one in Bristol, one in Cardiff. And then hopefully there'll be another one at some point in the next, sort of within the next year or something. And then from there, we did a convention in Manchester. We did VORP, which was really good fun. It just kind of happened by sticking our noses in the way and just sort of going like, well, could we have a spot? Could we have like an hour or something? We've got this channel, and we reckon we could sell X number of tickets, and they don't have a problem with that, so they invite us along to these things, and that's really cool. We did Pandorica with Phantom in Bristol, and then the last one we did was the last We Are Cult one in Cardiff, which happened just before the lockdown, which was lovely. But that's really good fun. I really enjoy doing those, and it's quite nice to have like levels to Review of Death, like having the podcast, having the social media, having the live events and stuff. It just kind of adds another dimension to what we can do. And I'm looking forward to doing more. I wish that COVID would actually disappear now, so we can do those things.
That would be nice. Cool. So we're going to take a quick break now, guys. It's a 3 or 4 minute break, just for having to get a drink and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see you in a bit.
Something vast is stirring in the dark. is this? Why would they want me to review a Doctor Who car?
Accessories, all he comes with is this flashlight.
Yes, another hit.
This will haunt the souls of children for all eternity.
Oh, screw this. My nightmares are bad enough as it is.
No. Not you. Anything but you.
Okay, we're back from the break. Can just let us know if you can hear us. But the trailer for the bootleg thing was just shown to you guys, and I wanted to ask Billy whether he remembers them in 2007.
I do remember them. I don't remember if I first saw them in person. If I did, I know exactly the kind of shops I would have seen them in. But I do remember them, definitely seeing them on DoctorWhoToys.net for the first time.
Yeah,
and being like, oh, wow. I suppose really it's the sincerest form of flattery, isn't it? You know, is somebody copying you and ripping you off. I suppose that's the first indication, like, hey guys, we might be doing something right. These guys are trying to do rip-off merch of our TV show.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I love it. Bootleg stuff's always fun because it's somebody else's approximation of something you know a lot about. And so it's like, so they've looked at Doctor Who, whatever materials they've had to hand, trailers or whatever, and they've got a car. Well, we know that the thing that they fly in the spaceship's blue, so we'll paint it blue and we'll just put loads of stickers on it. Like, it's such a broad stroke of Doctor Who whenever they do, bootleg merch.
Oh, I just love it. There's just a massive world of that kind of stuff, and I just got such a deep love for it. So we'll just pass on to Lewis, and then after Lewis, I'll pass on to Marno. So we've got some more questions on that video. These are going to be quick fire, Billy. We won't spend too long on these ones because there's quite a few. So I'll let Lewis start off.
So a quick one. We'll start with for Billy rather than us. Soaring Egret. He's already asked you about the Moffat one. If you're comfortable answering, what was going to happen in the cancelled, I think he means, 7th Doctor animation adventure series made by your friend Batman March?
It's more of a question for Matt, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We were talking a little while ago about using like scripts for stuff he never ended up finishing for something, which we could still do, but yeah, he's definitely the person to ask about his action figures ventures, as much as I love them as well.
I put a bit of a spin on that and ask about the audio series, which was going to happen, then never happened. I was really excited for that, and it never came to fruition.
Yeah, I mean Matt's audio series. Yeah. I mean, it's still around,
right?
Okay. And we were speaking about it as recently as sort of start of the year. So it is something we'd like to do something with, because the material's there and it's really cool. Like the stuff that Matt had planned, you know, I always just like it going like, tell me about the story thread to the first series again, and then he'd go off and tell me about it. So that, yeah, it's good. It's definitely worth digging out and doing something with at some point, and I'm sure we will.
Cool.
Another one from Bill from Becky Simpson. Bill.
Bill.
Yes, you are. If you were given a chance to be showrunner for 4th Doctor Who, but knowing fully well that your era would be as controversial with Colin Baker as the current Jodie Whittaker era, would you still take the job?
Would I take the job if I knew that my season Doctor Who would be controversial? Yeah, I suppose. I mean, but everything's controversial to somebody. Some people think it's controversial that the majority of the people in the TARDIS, half the people in the TARDIS are not white. Some people think that that's controversial. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I made a show that was controversial to people who thought that, then yeah, I'd love to do Doctor Who.
It's pretty ridiculous, really, isn't it?
Mental.
Any more?
From Richard Coleman, one of our longer viewers. He says a lot like he enjoys the review of Death with you and Matt. It's fun and interesting takes. Wants to congratulate you on the excellent adaptation and production.
It's the Dark Dimension.
Oh, thank you.
Skim reading it, so I don't know. But he wants to ask: has there been any development of your plans to create stories with an original Doctor? And
this is.
Would you be prepared to share teasers?
I read this before. This is kind of like coming off of the Dark Dimension thing, and I think Richard's wondering if you were going to do any more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean the plan is still there. I mean, I've got one recorded. I've got one done. It's just a case of putting it together. And at the moment, the review of Death is sort of my main focus. I mean, because Matt and I have been sitting on the idea to do the review of Death in this format for years, and we didn't expect it to spring up on us as suddenly as it did, sort of this year when it first started. So that sort of took us by surprise, and so that is my primary focus. I'd like to get them out in some way, because the stories that are written are all brilliant, and I'd like people to hear them and see them, because they were such a great little set of stories. So yeah, I'd like to do something with it at some point. Yeah.
Nice. Have we got any more that we can go off, or?
There is one more that I can ask Billy, and then the rest are sort of MonoSupreme ones. So I probably want to say.
Yeah, we'll answer those. Different thing, I think. Just for time.
So I was just checking for live ones. It was, I think, I'll check who it was in a second, but it was, is there any basically old elements of Doctor Who, like, it's not coming up now, I can't find it. Here we are, sorry. Donovan Baker, sorry. What Doctor Who monster or plot element would you like to bring back to the current show, and what spin-off material would you like to see next?
I'd like to see another Doctor Who Confidential, and the obvious answer to Doctor Who spin-offs is always an 8th Doctor Time War series or a Joe Martin series. So probably a Joe Martin series is number one. And then I would say the element or the monster I'd want to bring back from the classic series. Matt and I were asked that the other night on one of our Patreon Q&As. And we both basically listed a bunch of 80s monsters: pteroleptils, tractators, tetraps. Well, I mean, yeah, they all begin with a T. But we all thought that, hey, we'd like to see a remodeled new series version of those monsters. They'd look cool. So something like that, something from the 80s that didn't get enough love at the time.
Fair. I do like the pteroleptils quite a bit. Go on, Mana, I'll pass that over to you for the next in the notes.
I am looking. I don't know what are you talking about.
No, the document I sent you.
That's it. That's all I've got.
For the break.
Oh yeah, that is it, isn't it? Yeah, you kind of already answered this next one already about what you'd like to see.
Also, I just realised
Oh,
my mic was switched off for like 10 minutes.
Oh no!
And I was talking at you and you weren't responding.
Oh Mana, I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
That's my fault.
Oh well.
I was busy trying to get my.
I was just gushing and offering help in case, like, for the audio series you're doing, trying to get my foot in the door.
Well, and of course that was the time where the microphone was off.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we were. Me and Mana were. Well, Mana was recording lines for an audio series. Do you want to explain what that's about and ask whether Billy knows about it?
Yeah. I auditioned from a Twitter casting call from Spectral Horizons.
Okay.
And I only knew that because about it because Mr. TARDIS Reviews retweeted it, and I looked through them just out of curiosity, and I saw that there was, an audition for a, trans feminine character. So I was like, hey, like, who else is going to do that? I'm going to do that. And I auditioned and I got the role, and and then me and Oscar, we snuck into uni and snuck into one of the sound studios that are not reserved for our course, but it was open. So anyway, we recorded those lines, and it was quite a lot of fun. Just haven't heard anything from them since.
But it is good fun doing that stuff. I remember, like I've always enjoyed recording voiceovers and voice related stuff. Like the Daleks were great fun to do for Dark Dimension, and the Cybermen were great fun to do for Dark Dimension. So yeah, it is great fun. There's a certain buzz you get off of doing voiceovers and just using your voice. You don't have to worry about what the rest of you is doing or looking like. Yeah. There's something quite expressive and freeing about that.
Heightened.
So yeah, definitely, because you come out of it, and I've heard my voice back and gone, well, firstly I'm like, is that what I sound like? And then I've gone, well, I've obviously done something slightly different there, because I don't usually speak like that. So I'm obviously tuning myself to something. So yeah, I've loved doing it. Yeah, it's really cool.
I've heard the Alex McQueen Master for Big Finish. I've always thought that, like, I wondered how he would act if he were like live action, because he sounds quite close and he sounds quite insular and quite and then I think in the Masterful behind the scenes, he was like, if you acted like this in real life, like on a set, you would get laughed out of town.
Absolutely, because you've got to, it's almost like you've got to completely, like, your voice has got to say, I'm standing a certain way, I'm expressing this in a certain way, my face is doing that. You've got to express all of that just through your voice. So yeah, you're definitely going to be hamming it up. It's very theatrical, isn't it? I think that's probably why classic series Doctor Who works so well with audio, because it's very expositional. And I think that's why it's interesting when you see the new series Doctors, because they're kind of working within a format that's been laid out by the classic series dramas. And it's very expositional as well. So suddenly you've got like David Tennant. It's like, this is like he's going through a Bob Baker and Dave Martin script, the way he's going on. Like, this is really weird. And but that kind of, I'm sure for them, is a whole other challenge, playing this part especially David Tennant or Matt Smith if he ever decides to do it, so physical with his portrayal. How do you get that across as a voice actor? You know, it must be very difficult.
Yeah, and apparently Eccleston was like, oh, I'm kicking things about and messing things up for the sound engineer.
I think I'm so glad that he's enjoying himself. That's
me too.
Such a lovely, warm thing to be like, Christopher Eccleston's Doctor Who again, and he's happy. That's cool.
Yeah.
Kind of. It really does warm your soul.
Yeah, I recorded a review of the Ninth Doctor Adventures for the channel. It's still not edited or uploaded yet. But you know, during that, I think towards the end, I sort of expressed just sort of how I feel about the whole situation. How, you know, Eccleston is the Doctor again. He's like, you know, he's back. He's the Doctor. He's Doctor Who again. But you know, it's on certain terms. It's not necessarily with BBC Wales. It's with Big Finish. He's the Doctor.
And with his character as well, you know, like you can tell he wants to be the swashbuckling hero, like David's Doctor was.
He actually likes playing him, like loves playing him, because it's such a departure from a lot of his other roles. I think secretly he likes playing the optimistic hero.
Yeah. I think he does. I think the fact that was reflected in him saying, you know, I want to do stories like this. You know, I'd like to have a Doctor's portrayal that's written like that. I think, I mean, obviously, it's because he wants to enjoy it, and that's the Doctor that he enjoys playing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I sort of, people were sort of complaining about how he didn't, you know, is pre-Rose, so he doesn't sound depressed, and he's out of character. But like, that wouldn't be a good sort of introduction to him, like a character he loves playing who's very bright and optimistic and stuff.
Absolutely.
That wouldn't have been a good introduction to bringing him back.
You want to hit the ground running with him. Like the first time you hear the Ninth Doctor, you want it to be him out of breath, running down a corridor. You know, that's what you want. You don't want him sat in the corner of the room going, "Oh, I'm really sad, me." And then the theme tune plays. Like, hey, we're in for a fun ride, aren't we? You know, it's nice that he's doing the more of the kind of comic action hero thing now. That's cool.
Also, I think he did say in the interview for Doctor Who magazine that maybe in the future, like he's the one to say, maybe in the future we'll do more darker stuff.
It's a development though, isn't it? Because he's finding his feet in the role for, you know, again, and he can do whatever they can do whatever they want, really. You know, he can have an input into what kind of stories he might want to involve himself in, and that's cool. It's a pleasure to have him back, whatever he's doing. It's a really lovely kind of story having him back and involved in the show again.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool. I mean, I would put in a hot take here. I was never really that, because I always saw that the Doctor regenerated straight after the Time War, and then it was Rose straight away. So I never really envisaged a Ninth Doctor era before that. So
I suppose that's the trouble. If you really want to get into Big Finish, you've got to take you know, a sledgehammer to the canon of the program and to the continuity. And really, I think, like I probably would have got a bit hung up about stuff like that, and because it's headcanon, isn't it? Like that's the way it is to me. So like that's the, you know, that's the way it should be or whatever. And I agree. I love the idea that he's just regenerated from being John Hurt and walks into Rose's flat like that. I love that. I think that's quite neat. But it's not that interesting, is it, really?
Well, it gives you more opportunity, really, doesn't it, to tell new stories, just bending the canon a little bit.
Exactly. And we don't really know what happened before then. So, you know, it's good fun. They could have made a whole run. I made a joke about it on Twitter where he's there and he's like, what does he say? Rose turns him down. He just dematerializes, goes off and has 900 adventures with a new companion that dies, and then comes back and says, "Oh, by the way, it also travels in time." And then the Rose era begins with series 1. You could easily have done that.
I'm going to pass off to Lewis for just. Sorry, I was just going to.
I think. Sorry, I think in the Rose novelization, there's a bit, just after he's told Rose about the turn of the Earth. I think in the book it says that once he goes off in the TARDIS, he spends like a few weeks having adventures.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's lovely that it's nice that you definitely know that Russell's put that in. Go throw a Big Finish a bone here, because I think Moffat used to do it actually actively in the program. He would give the Doctor long periods of time off screen so that Big Finish could chuck in 900 box sets in that half a second. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna bat over to Lewis with a couple more questions from Harry Moorcroft. Have you ever seen Harry's work before, Billy? Scribbles to Screen.
His name doesn't ring a bell. I'm going to
send you it because he's a really, really awesome artist, and I think you'll like his work. So I'm going to send you it.
Cool.
Go on. No, go on. I'll let you read.
His live comments, but I didn't actually look too much into his one on the original video. He's basically saying he likes your reviews and thinks they're fun. He wanted to ask how long you and Matt have known each other, and whether you were involved personally with the action figure adventures. We've known each other since 7 years. Whenever the first review went out, 2014. We've known each other that long, and we've been kind of best mates since then, really. I only ever did one or two things for his action figure adventures. I'm in one of the later 8th Doctor ones in that last series. And then I think I'm also in the one that he did with the War Doctor as well. There's a segment where there's a radio that's playing, and it's like New Year's Day 2005 or something like that. And I'm a newsreader. I did it live on my student union radio show, and sent him the file. So I'm in a couple of them, but I wasn't really that heavily involved in them themselves. He's the maestro at that. I'd probably ruin it.
Do we have any more?
The other one for Billy specifically is: are there any other properties you'd want to discuss with Matt?
I mean,
obviously you talk about Doctor Who.
I remember talking about the Spider-Man stuff back in the old review of Death Days. There were a couple of times where he talked about that kind of thing, and I enjoyed that. So.
Yeah. And I've tried to force him to watch some wrestling. He's tried to force me to watch some He-Man. I've both involving topless sweaty men. I've also put forward a few ideas. We have actually recorded a whole video about James Bond, which by the time it was scheduled to come out was completely irrelevant because the movie had been delayed, or we knew all about the movie, or whatever. So that might come out at some point. But I'd like to talk about Bond. Red Dwarf would be fun. And yeah, somebody did suggest as well in our Patreon Discord that we might do something about Ghostwatch for Halloween as well. That would be fun.
Oh yeah, and I saw your film, which was heavily inspired by Ghostwatch.
Very heavily inspired by Ghostwatch. Yes. Yeah. It was basically a rip-off. But I told Stephen Volk that because he had seen it when I met him. Cool. He'd actually seen it, and I was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." Maybe we'll do something like that for Halloween. I don't know. I'm going to try and get us cosplaying for Halloween. I'll work out what we're gonna wear, but I'm going to try and get us cosplaying for the Halloween episode.
Nice. I'll just pass on to Lewis. Any more?
Everything specifically, Billy.
Just while you take.
Else is like.
Okay, just check on the live one, and I'll just ask Billy how much longer you are wanting to stay on.
I'm probably about done now. Actually, at 8:30, I've got something on. I'm afraid, guys. Sorry,
right.
I don't mean to.
We've not got anything in the chat anyway, so it's fine. I mean, an hour's a good time for a podcast anyway.
It is.
Start to lose energy. Well, we did have a false start, so I mean that kind of took a bit off which was a bit of a shame.
That's
but,
cool. That's cool. It's been lovely speaking to you guys. It's a cool like setup you've got here with this. So
oh, thank you. It's been great to have you on. Yeah, when it works, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you know what? You just persevere through those things, don't you?
Yeah. So I'll just pass over to Mana to say some closing words. She's not good at goodbyes.
Right. So, thank you very much, Billy, for joining us on this podcast. Thank you for answering our questions. Thanks for talking to us. Thanks for answering some of our viewers' questions.
You're very welcome. It has been a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for
We're
bearing
all
through
terrible
the
at ending
technical
these
difficulties.
We're all really bad at ending streams. It's like when you're waving someone off at the door and you're like, bye, 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 and you're closing the door really slowly. Bye, 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 bye. And we always suck at that. So, yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Let's stop stucking. Stop stucking. Anyway.
Stop stucking.
Anyway, I have been Mana. Who have you been? Those two people there.
I don't know who you're pointing at.
She's pointing at us.
Lewis. It's been Lewis.
Yeah.
This has been Lewis, who's not on screen. So I don't know why I'm holding my hand up.
But and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode of the MonoSupreme podcast. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.